like a fucking nerd.
I'm convinced I'm never going to get my stimulus.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. I got mine in a really weird way. I got mine from TurboTax.
Huh.
And it was because the IRS had they put my money in the wrong bank account. So then they realized they put a bunch of people's stimulus checks in incorrect bank accounts. So then they were like, all right, let's just, so we don't do that again. I think they routed it through TurboTax to be like, if you're a TurboTax customer, then we have your bank account information. So let's send it through TurboTax to these people. So I got my stimulus check from TurboTax.
Huh.
And it was really weird. I was looking, I was like, where the fuck is this money coming from? And I had to like look up articles and to learn where it was from because the description of it was so vague and just letters basically.
Yeah. My first instinct would be like, it's a spam thing and I'm about to get scammed or something.
100%, dude. I thought I was just like, dude, if they're putting money in, it's just so they can see if they can take it out. I started getting super paranoid. But no, apparently it's the government fucked up. Big surprise. And then they had to work through a private company to be able to fucking fix the problem.
Well, you know who else fucked up? Lucas.
Did you fuck up by picking this album?
I think I fucked up by picking this album.
Oh, buddy.
Why don't you give us a little intro?
Oh, buddy. All right. This is going to be a somber intro. What's up, everyone?
What is up?
What's up, guys? Welcome to possibly the last episode of Earbuds.
We'll get taken down by the hordes of people that disagree with us.
The hordes of 5 people who seem to be listening to this. What's up, every 5 people? It is welcome to Earbuds, the podcast where 2 buds listen to one album and talk about it for a while. We talk about what we like and what we didn't like, and probably more of the latter in this episode. But we are the odd couple of podcasts, or the pod couple of oddcasts. Your hosts are me, Lucas Inderkovs, and my buddy, Brett the Hitman Hanrahan.
Ooh.
Yeah, you like that one?
Yeah, I like that one, actually.
Well, Brett, let's get into it, bud. You wanted to talk about Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, rated number 2 on Rolling Stone's top 500 albums of all time.
Yes, and that is one of the main reasons I wanted to get into this album is because I've tried to listen to this thing a lot.
Really?
Like I've I'll just go on top 10, 50 album lists and I'll just go through them because you want to hear these great albums, these classic albums that like shape music,
Yeah, I've been going through the top 500 albums so far, like starting from the top. That's what I've been doing for my album of the days this year, and honestly, it has been nice to listen to albums that are considered like hugely influential and stuff. Probably things that I would have never listened to,
Yeah, and in that vein, I had never really been a fan of Beach Boys because when you think of the Beach Boys, you think of all the like Surfin' USA kind of hits and stuff.
Yeah, that goofy fucking toothpaste commercial music.
Which I've never been into. And then Pet Sounds is just heralded across the board from what I've seen as one of the best albums ever made.
This album had one of the longest Wikipedia pages I've seen. I read through all of it. There's been so many write-ups on this album, dude.
This is the by far the most research I've ever done on an album that we've done.
Same.
Because I desperately needed to know why everybody heralded this album so highly.
Same. I'm like, I need to find out what the influence is. Like, how was this such a mega deal when it came out?
And it still is, apparently.
Yeah. Still, it's cited by a ton of artists on being a huge influence on them, including the Beatles.
Yeah. Apparently, Paul McCartney said it was one of the best albums, like one of his favorite albums of all time.
Yeah, it said
which
it.
Is
go ahead.
Crazy. It inspired Sgt. Pepper's.
Yes,
basically.
That's what I read. I was trying to figure out which, like the chicken or the egg. I was like, I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out who influenced who because I didn't know when they came out. Because I listened to this and I was like, I hear Sgt. Pepper's in this. Like, and Sgt. Pepper's to me is probably like the Beatles' like most goofy material.
Well, it's interesting because the Beatles released Rubber Soul, which was kind of a step into a different direction for them. And Rubber Soul inspired Pet Sounds, and then Pet Sounds inspired Sgt. Pepper's.
Kind of cool how that worked.
Yeah, it was kind of this inspiration loop of stuff between the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
Yeah, it didn't feel like one-upsmanship or anything. It just felt like yeah, Brian Wilson heard Rubber Soul and he was like, oh, this album has no fillers. It's like not focused on singles. It's just focused on making like one cohesive piece of music where like you don't want to skip any of the songs. And that apparently wasn't done at the time. That there was a lot of focus on singles at the time.
We're gonna be talking a lot about the time when this album came out.
Yeah, because that's something that we have. It's a benefit and a detriment. I was talking to Christina about this earlier that it's like we have the benefit and the detriment of having 50 plus years of music since this came out that we have listened to going into this album. So like it's impossible to put myself in the ears of someone in 1966 that's never heard anything like this, because I've heard Tupac, I've heard Dragon Force, like I've heard too much to go back to this and be really impressed by it.
And that was the main focus for me when I did my research into this album, like looking at videos and articles, and just trying to get a handle on the way people viewed music at this time. And it was completely different from how we view it now. Apparently this album was like the first, quote unquote, the first rock album that you were supposed to listen to, and that wasn't made to just dance to.
Yeah.
Which is an insane notion to me.
It's pretty obvious when you listen to this, when like most of what I heard from the Beach Boys is their fucking Surfin' Safari, Surfin' USA, just songs about surfing, and California Girls and all that shit. And then you listen to this and you like hear how personal the lyrics are, and it's like darker themes. Mm-hmm. And it is people must have heard it being like, yes, the new Beach Boys album, like let's go to the bop. And then they put it on and it's kind of, I don't want to say depressing, but it's really dark for the time.
One of the credits I want to give this album is that it very beautifully gets across melancholy, I'd say.
Yeah, dude, I wrote that word down probably 4 times while I was going through this.
Yeah, I'd say
so melancholic.
It's a very melancholic yet beautiful album, but it's also poppy, and the rock, what we see as rock, has changed drastically from what it was when this album came out. I don't consider this album a rock album by any means.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit, but
no.
People still herald it as one of the greatest rock albums of all time.
This is not a rock album. This is definitely like avant-garde.
It's kind of, at first I thought it was very basic, but when you try to put it into a cohesive term, it's kind of hard to describe it as anything,
Yeah, it doesn't stand out as folk, or it doesn't stand. There's so many elements to it that are all just being kind of smashed together that it doesn't. You can't define it under one genre.
Yeah, I think that's the reason that it's one of these classic albums, is that it was one of the first to kind of mesh these classical and poppy vibes together. One of the first time it meshed piano and guitar together. Right?
Is it?
Yeah, that's if the video I watched is to be trusted.
And
so when you think about it like that, and like, wow, like music was so young and so, I guess, underdeveloped.
So innocent.
And
piano
naive.
And guitar had never been paired together. People heard that and they were like, this is the devil's music.
This is blasphemy.
Yeah. You don't put a divine instrument like the piano next to a guitar.
And apparently it's very like if you had it in on a music sheet, the music is very complex. Apparently.
Yeah, apparently. I looked at pictures of it, and I don't know how to read music anyway, but I saw a lot of lines and numbers and stuff.
But as a person who is not very classically learned, as a person who doesn't really read sheet music and isn't educated in that stuff, I didn't hear it, honestly.
I did, man, and only because of like the wall of sound kind of aspect of everything. Like I could hear a lot of things going on at once. So it sounded like, yes, it's very complex, but maybe the composition of it all isn't necessarily the best it could have been done, you know, because there are a lot of pieces happening at once. Everything from like fucking literal animal sounds to like harpsichords and you know, like I don't even know if I heard sitar there every now and then. You had flutes.
There were a lot of new instruments on this album.
Yeah, what are those big classical drums? The fucking
yeah, the little they're not called timpanis.
I think it is timpani, no?
I don't know. We know what
those massive barrel drums. Like,
Brent, dude, my audio cut out on my shitty computer. But have you seen Walk Hard?
No, is that the Johnny Cash?
All right, you obviously have no idea what you're talking about because you're a fucking Neanderthal. But it's the biopic parody of Johnny Cash, Ray Charles, and other figures.
Okay, and that's the dude with the dude from Step Brothers and
yeah, John C. Reilly.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Okay, it's really funny, and they pull from both stories. So like if you've seen Walk the Line and Ray, like they're kind of almost like scene by scene parodying each movie at the same time. They're just kind of mashing them together. And there's a part in the movie where the main guy starts doing a ton of drugs, like in the 60s, and he kind of leaves his like 50s like bopper phase and starts doing these kind of darker songs, and he starts getting like addicted to coke and shit. And at one point he like starts doing psychedelics, and he is in the studio and he's wearing like a dashiki, and he has like really long hair and he's conducting this like massive room. He went from like Johnny Cash style like country music to like a room with like a full orchestra, and like there's like these African tribesmen that are like singing their part over there, and there's like 16 didgeridoos and like all this crazy shit. And for the longest time I thought that was making fun of Johnny Cash, because he also had a phase where like all of a sudden he has an orchestra and like has all this like different instrumentation on his stuff, and it wasn't really country anymore after a certain point. And like his band were like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what is this music? We don't know this music. And I'm realizing that they were parodying this moment in the Beach Boys' history. That's what that part of the movie was making fun of, because this album supposedly is a result of Brian Wilson doing acid and smoking weed a bunch. Yeah. And he started kind of, you know, there's this whole like theory that if you have mental disorders or illnesses or something like that, that doing drugs can exacerbate it. Like even weed. Like if you're bipolar, or you have tendency to be bipolar, and you start doing something even as like, you know, I don't want to say innocuous as weed, because weed fucking gets you high, but like it's something as what a lot of people consider almost like harmless. Yeah. It'll either bring that up to the surface or it'll make it worse. So I think that's what's happening, or what happened here was that Brian Wilson like had issues already. He had demons already. And then he had this life-changing, this eye-opening experience doing LSD. And he kind of couldn't go back after that. Like, it's like he saw too much. Right. And it's hard to go back. And I can testify that like doing mushrooms is a very similar experience where your mind just works differently, and you think about things differently. Your logic changes when you're on mushrooms.
I've heard that.
So you have these epiphany moments, and I kind of understand it, because it is true. It's like once you have those moments, as long as you took them seriously and held on to them and really thought about them, there is no going back after that. And I kind of get that. But he went a little too far down the rabbit hole, it sounds like. And he started struggling really bad, and that's what made this album.
Yeah, and another credit to this album is that the dude basically made it himself,
Which is insane.
Even for an old album like this, and the way they were running recording studios back then, and it was all, completely different from even 5 years after he wrote this album, right?
Sure, yeah.
And just being able to produce this whole thing and guide all these people and write all these parts basically single-handedly is quite an accomplishment.
Really, really crazy. I mean, it can't be understated how, like, writing something like this on your own is a feat.
Yeah.
Right?
And,
like, it's impressive enough whether we dug it or not.
Yeah. And even and we'll get into that. But I'm pretty sure
we'll get into it, buddy.
Neither of us are really into this album, but regardless, I can still respect it as a very influential and kind of groundbreaking album at the time. Right?
It's hard for me to get to that point, dude. Because because what I can appreciate it for is the artistry of it. But again, dude, like, I can't listen to Dragon Force and then listen to this and go, wow. Like, I can't hear the 50 years of music that have come after this where either these practices that they used on this album have been just, standardized or whatever, but I can't go back to this and be impressed by the production of it.
Yeah.
And the innovation and all that stuff, because it doesn't sound innovative to me in any way.
I mean, that's exactly what I was thinking when I was first going through this album. Is that it sounds a little basic and kind of nothing really special. And then I thought, like,
you're calling Brian Wilson a basic bitch.
But I thought, like, maybe if I'm thinking that way, Pet Sounds did have an influence on, like, how music and pop music was written. If I'm thinking that this is so basic, right? Because, like, back then nothing like this was made, right. But now this is just commonplace. Like, this is nothing special.
Yeah. When you put it in that way, for sure. Yeah, it was kind of like, yesterday I listened to Born This Way by Lady Gaga.
Yeah, I saw that.
And one of my thoughts was, I think that came out in 2010 or 2011. And one of my thoughts was like, this is what all pop music sounds like now.
Yeah.
So what was the big deal? And then I thought, did pop music not sound like this in 2011?
Lady Gaga basically changed the face of pop music when she came out.
And I had the benefit and detriment of hearing how much she has influenced pop just in general, to where I hear it and I'm just like, yeah, I've heard this before. Mm-hmm. It was still really good. I actually really liked the album, but it was a weird thought for me to have, that I was just like, did it not sound like this before? Was pop music not exactly like this? Because this is how it sounds now. And I think I didn't think about it with this album. That has to be what it was, right?
Yeah, that's my theory. Again, like, it's been about 60 years since this thing's come out.
Yeah.
And it's
57 years.
And so I think with all that being said, let's kind of get into it.
Let's get into it, man. Because I think if you're listening to this, I think you can start gathering a little bit about how much what we thought of this record, right? So, like,
right.
I think we were both nervous going into this because I have a hard time listening to old music as far back as the 50s and 60s. I have a hard time listening to it and not thinking that it's lame and cheesy.
Yeah, I as well. I'm the same way. I was thinking of what other music was coming out when this is happening, and it was, first Beatles, but also kind of Motown was kind of starting to happen.
Yeah,
and
Motown
I was just
big.
Thinking about, like, all that music and how that music is so much more exciting to me.
So much. Not just like the production of it, but so much more intricate songwriting.
Yeah, and the amount of emotion
The
and
vocals
just like,
alone.
yeah, and then you listen to this, and it's kind of like, yeah, it's a beautiful album, and it gets across, different feelings and emotions, but it didn't really make me feel anything. And the lyrics to me are about, about as shallow as it gets, honestly.
Yeah, man. It's the lyrics are the same, almost cookie cutter toothpaste love songs that they used to write, but mixed in there, you have songs like "You Still Believe in Me," like even "God Only Knows." Even though that's kind of it could be a love song, but it's "God Only Knows" is still very like a very different interpretation of what you would think of a pop love song for the time.
Yeah.
But it's crazy to me that what was the song that was like a B-side off of this that they didn't even release with the record and ended up being one of their biggest hits?
Good Vibrations?
Good Vibrations. When you listen to that fucking song, you're just like, oh, that's the cheesy fucking Beach Boys I know.
Yeah.
And he was writing it at the same time as this other shit, So, it kind of makes sense that they didn't put it on the album because it really doesn't fit at all. But it is, it's, I was wondering if you were feeling the same thing I was, where like, it's kind of hard and it's a confusing set of emotions when you are listening to this record and you think it does sound beautiful. I mean, it's really beautiful music. It's really pleasing on the ear. I mean, the production is fucking awesome on this record. You put on a nice pair of headphones, it sounds incredible. The wall of sound aspect is really cool, where there's just so much going on.
We did listen to the 40th anniversary version.
The remastered version, yes. Yeah.
So,
and it is it's not what you remember the Beach Boys sounding like, so that's cool too. But it's weird to think all those things and recognize all those things that you're like, yes, I like all this stuff about it, but I don't like this record.
Yeah.
And is it because, are you kind of like me too, that you don't like it because it gets so much recognition? It makes you judge it a little more harshly?
I mean, for sure. Like, as transparent and objective as I tried to be going into this album, I couldn't get it off my mind that it was number 2 of the 500 best albums of all time on the Rolling Stone. And I'm just trying, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I desperately wanted to know why. And I went into this week listening to this album trying to give it the best chance of like, I want to like this album. But I just can't. Like, I look at these songs and I look at the names and I can't remember how a single one goes,
Except the big ones for me. Wouldn't it be nice? And
I mean,
God Only Knows. Those are the ones I really know.
I think Wouldn't It Be Nice was an interesting way to start off the album, because I think it sounds the most Beach Boysy.
Yeah.
Like from before this album was made, so they kind of
the twist.
Kind of brought people in like, oh, it's just a little different. And then every song after that,
if it all sounded like this is what you guys really want to hear.
I'd never been more sure that we shared like the same choice nug than now. Wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah.
Because like it's the most up song, I guess. It's the one that kind of captures my attention the most. Vocal harmonies are beautiful on it, which these guys have very iconic and very, very good vocal harmonies.
Just choice, dude.
Very choice. Like, you hear a Beach Boys harmony, you're like, that's a Beach Boys. You can't get it mixed up.
Yeah, man. And that's something I wanted to say, that across the board too, Brian Wilson's voice is just so fucking nice to listen to.
Well, what was interesting to me is that there were different lead singers throughout this album.
What?
Yeah, it wasn't all Brian.
Oh, for real?
Like, God Only Knows is, I think, sung by one of the other guys.
Oh, wow. So they all have fucking wondrous voices.
They all have wondrous voices that all kind of sound exactly the same.
Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah, I didn't know that. I assumed it was all Brian because he wrote it all.
It wasn't until I went into the Genius lyrics, like looking at the lyrics, that it annotated like who is singing where, and it's like, oh my god, I thought it was just all the same dude the whole time.
Wow. Yeah, I had no idea. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think for
like
the most part it's Brian, but
okay. I like the dreaminess of this record. It all does have a little bit of a dreamy vibe, which it makes more sense to me how this is considered like the first psychedelic pop album, because it does have those psychedelic little hints and little splashes and all that. I think it you can hear it. And wouldn't it be nice is just it was kind of like this, you could hear it as a Beach Boys song, like the previous version of Beach Boys before this, but then it like is the one song in this album that combines the old with the new with their sound. So you have the instrumentation, all the horns and strings and all the guitars, and this kind of like the music is front and center on this whole album. And this is kind of like, this was a very smart thing to put as the opening track, because you get the new darker, melancholic, a little more, the halfway point of like the more personal lyrics with the old, bubblegum bullshit.
It may have been like the first song that he wrote for this album, as he was kind of transitioning into what he imagined the rest of it would be.
I wonder how many of these songs he wrote on drugs, like actually on the drugs.
I couldn't tell you. I bet. I mean, in the videos I saw, it was described as a problem, so I would assume most of them.
yeah, man. I think the guy who helped write all these songs, he had a really crazy quote that he calls like his interactions with Brian Wilson and the bandmates as an embarrassing experience. He said that he remembered that Wilson just had terrible taste in everything, that he just like all the movies that he would watch was just terrible. He would go, every 4 hours that they would spend writing songs, there'd be another 48 hours of these, what this guy called dopey conversations about some dumb book about mysticism.
Oh boy.
So I think he was getting into that, like, I'm 14 and this is deep phase of just like, dude, the fucking system and your energy, and we're all just light and we're all connected and our hearts have fucking electricity going through them. I think he was like going through those. He was 22 when he fucking wrote this shit.
Yeah.
Like doing drugs at 22, that's when I did drugs, and those are the things that you go through. It's just not everyone has the added benefit of fucking putting your really naive personal journey onto a fucking record that billions of people are going to hear. I had the added benefit of no one caring what I thought, and I didn't have the platform to tell people about all these crazy realizations I was having on drugs.
Yeah.
This guy was like, I need to write this album. And he said that the guy who helped him write it even said that he doesn't think the LSD had much to do with it. It was more like Wilson's bipolar disorder having more to do with it. But you listen to this and this is drugs.
I don't know. Like as a person who really doesn't do a lot of drugs, I haven't had a lot of experience. You could have showed this album to me and told me the dude was clean and I would have believed you.
Yeah, but like, Brett, I think the thing that you don't realize is that all the musicians are doing drugs. So most of the music that you've heard has been written on drugs.
I guess so.
So it's like when you see me and you're like, you don't know if I'm high or not, because I'm always high when you see me.
That's a fair point.
So I have to tell you, dude, I'm so fucking stoned right now. And you're like, oh, I didn't even know. I'm just like, yeah, because this is my base level. It's my equilibrium.
Did you what level of stonerism did you come at this album with?
Dude, I was trying to do that, put myself in a 1966 stoner mind.
You took a little acid.
I had to try and get there. I had to like lick a frog and then, fucking boof something.
Let a cat piss in your face.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. Cat farts. Like they get you fucked up. They're like whippets.
They're so good, dude.
Yeah. I like sucked in a bunch of helium. I like had my car running in the garage just for like 5-10 minutes while I was like sitting in the garage.
I slept in the car while it was running in the garage.
Yeah, I burned a tire and just stuck my face in the middle of the smoke.
You do what you got to do.
Dude, I tried getting there, and I will say that this is because of like this wall of sound. It is so fucking nice to listen to when you're inebriated. Because there's just so much going on. I think I really, really love classical music when I'm smoking because there's so much going on, and it's usually recorded very nicely. And so I will say that adds to it. I don't know if listening to this 100% sober in 1966, I would have been confused.
Sure.
You know, so like, yes, as a stoner or as a hippie in 1966, this album would have blown my mind. And I tried getting there today. You know, this was the first record that we've been doing on this podcast that I didn't want to listen to again. In preparation for the show, I like to listen to it at least 2 times, and I had to force myself to listen to this a second time so I could take notes.
And in regards to what you were saying just a little bit earlier, like if you were stoner and doing this in the 60s when it came out, it would have been great. I feel like if you're calling this one of the greatest music albums of all time and you put it as number 2 of your greatest 500 albums of all time,
you shouldn't have
needs to be timeless.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Because every single video I saw, every single article had the caveat of, oh, well, at the time, this was an innovation and this was a crazy. That's okay, but if it's the greatest album of all time, it should not require a caveat of how progressive it was at the time. It should just be good as it is now.
I think I agree with you. I think I agree with that. And I wouldn't be surprised if the dude who wrote or at least contributed to the 500 best list was aware of this album when it came out. That wouldn't surprise me, because you do have to be a bit of a music historian to understand why this album is such a big deal.
Yeah. You can't just go into it blindly and kind of understand why it's such a big deal.
Yeah, be able to extrapolate the immensity of, or the how much influence this had on music moving forward. I don't know. I think we have 2 friends that have a counter argument to everything that we're saying right now. And I know that if they listen to this episode, they're going to be arguing with us through the fucking cell phone.
Well, I would love to hear their podcasts where they react to this episode.
Yeah, y'all fucking make your own podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, because, we both have, we know 2 guys that I do consider like almost music historians to an extent. And I know that one of those guys I saw Brian Wilson play this album live a couple years ago with. So I saw Brian Wilson perform this album at Austin City Limits. And it was a fucking great show.
Really?
Fucking great. I was not that interested in going except for the pop culture aspect of it all. Knowing what a big deal this album was, and that, you know, this dude's fucking old, and who knows when
he's old. He's got a guitar in his hand, so he must be somebody.
He must know what he's doing. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to see him again. And my friend got an extra ticket, and I think someone that was going to go with him bailed. And he asked me if I wanted to go, and I was like, sure, fuck yeah, I'll go see Brian Wilson perform Pet Sounds. That sounds like a big deal. And it was great. It was really, really great. And they started playing my second choice nug on this album, God Only Knows, which I would say is probably the second best known song on this record.
Yeah, I think those are the singles, as well as Caroline No. Like the singles from this album.
This is another. This was hard too, because there are some songs I didn't even write anything for. That's how not interested I was in taking notes for some of them.
What do you think was the difference between you seeing these guys live and listening to this record that like changed so much for you?
Well, the two friends that I went with both love this record. And
Right.
so seeing how fucking psyched they were got me in the mood. I was excited because they were really looking forward to the show. So it kind of got me like,
Yeah.
oh, sweet. Fuck yeah. Like this is going to be great. Second, imagine hearing this live. And I think they tried to recreate as much as they could of, you know, the full production.
Right.
So live, it sounds fucking incredible. And I saw it in a theater. So
Oh, okay.
it's the mood, the setting, those two things added a lot to it. And I was also like, I'm pretty sure I was drunk and smoking. So I was like next level, just, you know, I was in the headspace to be fucking really into this music. The lighting was great, you know, just all those things combined. Live is just such an experience.
Yeah.
And realizing that I'm seeing something that is probably not going to be seen again. And it added to this, you know, this special,
The spectacle.
the spectacle of it all. The people that were there, you could tell, I mean, these people like love this music and love this album and love Brian Wilson. It was a really,
Right.
really cool show to be at. And when God Only Knows started playing, I was like, I know this one. I knew all of them, but I was like, I know this song really well. I love this song. So it was really beautiful. And it was it was like a still moment in the theater. You know, it was like no one was moving. It was very quiet, and they were playing this song, and I was looking around, and people were just like, you could tell that they were just reminiscing on how many, like, all these different moments in your life where you've heard this song, or what this song means to you, or the connection that you
Right.
had with this song and someone else. And you could see everyone was having a moment, and it was really, really emotional and special. And looking at everyone and observing what was going on, I found it so fascinating and such a really cool human moment to be a part of. You know, it's a really beautiful moment. It was a really beautiful night. And listening to this in my living room by myself or on my headphones, you know, on my computer, I don't get even a 10% of that emotion or feeling from just listening to it on my own. That night was like so magical because of seeing first of all, these two guys that don't necessarily show a lot of emotion to begin with, and seeing them just express this emotion and be comfortable to do it around me and to be doing it in public, and then seeing everyone else is having a moment too.
Right.
Like I tear up now thinking about it, man. It was such a beautiful moment to me. And so, yeah, I don't get that from sitting here and listening
We
to
might
Sleep
never
John
have-
B.
We might never have that moment ourselves.
You know, I think it's a very powerful album for a lot of people. So I know that whoever listens to this, they're gonna have their own opinions, man.
Yeah.
It was yeah. But like God Only Knows is a beautiful fucking song, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think so as well. But just as a person who's like, I wanted to have that kind of moment that all these people have. It's the first album that I really like. I just laid in my bed and I just closed my eyes and I just listened to this album and I just completely enveloped myself in the music.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted this moment, this special moment that all these other people had. But I just never, it just never happened to me.
You never got there?
And that's why I only have the one choice nug.
You don't even
'Cause-
have two choice nugs?
Not one single other song.
You're fucking jipping me on a nug, bro?
Not one single other song piqued my interest, or
Wow.
like it was only the first song on the album, Wouldn't It Be Nice, with the harmonies, and it was the most energetic one, I guess, and the one that I could follow the most, but all the others just never. There were moments that I thought were really good, but I couldn't. It couldn't keep me captivated.
So your choice, Nug, was "Wouldn't It Be Nice"?
That's it. Yeah.
That's the first. Isn't that the worst? When your favorite song is the first song?
It really doesn't bode well.
Yeah,
for
it
your
doesn't.
enjoyment of the album.
It really doesn't. And anytime that's happened to me, whenever I was reviewing an album, it inevitably gets a bad review.
Yeah.
If you don't go, if you only go down, if it only gets worse from the first song, it's not a good sign.
And I've listened to this album probably 4 or 5 times this week.
Fuck, man. I could not get myself to do that.
4 or 5 times this week. I'm looking at the track list. I can't hum a single part from any of these songs.
Yeah, You Still Believe in Me. What does that sound like?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Here today. I couldn't tell you if there's a drum in it.
I'm waiting for the day. What does that sound like?
And it's just I'm just the very minor. I'm the minority of the people that just this album has nothing for me.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's why music is fucking subjective, dude. That's why it's art. You don't have to like it, you know? And it's and I have the little bit of the contrarian fucking hair up my ass a little bit, that if a lot of people like it, my immediate response is to not want to like it. And I recognize that bias.
I've been trying to deal with that guy for a while.
Right. So it does take a lot of, like, dude, I didn't listen to Hotline Bling until like 2 years ago.
Really?
I didn't want to listen to it. It got so huge. I was just like, there's no way I'm going to like this. Like, popular music is not something I ever think I'm going to actually enjoy. So, like, yeah, Hotline Bling I put off for forever. I never want to. I haven't listened to any Billie Eilish. I'm like, I'm just not interested when it gets that big. And it's like something like this, that it was like, this album is fucking massive still 57 years later or something like that. 55 years later. And part of me wants to just be a dickhead and not give it any chance at all. But I had to try. And I tried, Brett, and I still didn't like it. I still didn't like it, man. And it sucks. I wanted to.
I wanted to do everything I could to give this album an advantage. I wanted to, I threw out all the negative judgmental thoughts I had just as, like, I don't really care for the Beach Boys, or like the Beatles were better or whatever, all that. I threw all that out. I just listened to this as if it were just an album from a band, just music, just noise,
right?
And it didn't get me.
Yeah, just as a fan of music, you didn't like this.
It could be because I've never really cared for classical music.
Oh,
right?
Man, wow.
So that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
I don't really like
the classical.
Yeah.
My dad put it on a lot, and I really liked it.
I don't really like the sloppy love ballad kind of stuff. That stuff has never really connected with me. And so I think this is like the perfect culmination of all the stuff I really don't care about.
This is such a funny energy on this episode. We're so hesitant to admit this stuff, man.
It's so hard because, like, this is indisputably like one of the most classic heralded albums of all time.
I know.
And like, I just know we're just gonna piss people off, but like, it's just how I truly feel.
Yeah,
and it's just how this album affected me.
I just want to say right now, Michael and Jay, we're sorry. Okay, it's just our opinion, man. It's just our opinion.
We're gonna try to get them on the podcast, and they're gonna I came in with an album, and the whole time they're just gonna diss on us about Pet Sounds.
This episode. I can't wait to get them on, man. Hey, yeah, random little news. We might have some guests coming up on some episodes. That's exciting.
Yeah, not exactly sure when. Michael messaged us during the recording of this podcast.
Oh, nice.
And he said that he figured out his album. And I'm going into the chat now to see what it was. He didn't say it. He's waiting for us to respond.
Oh, okay. That dramatic son of a bitch.
Well, he
trying to build tension.
I guess we'll see when it comes out.
Yeah, that's really exciting to have. We're just inviting our friends to be on here, man. I'm so excited about that. But I can hear the hesitation in our voices. I can feel it. My energy is like low energy. Usually we're like excitable and joking around a whole bunch, and it's just I knew this episode was going to be hard because of that. Like I didn't go into this excited. I wasn't excited to talk about this. Like after hearing it, like when you first brought it up, I was psyched, and then after hearing it, I was just like, oh no. We're just going to piss people off.
I felt like eventually we were going to have an album that neither of us cared for. Might as well be one of the more famous and respected ones.
Might as well be in the top 3 of considered greatest albums of all time, right?
I feel like we've been walking on eggshells this whole recording.
We really have.
I don't want to disrespect this album.
No.
I just didn't enjoy it at all.
Yeah, we're not saying it sucked. We're not saying this is bad music. We're just saying we didn't like it.
With that said, do you want to give this album a rating?
Yeah, I think we've said everything we really can at this point without just harping and just continuing to shit on it in different ways. Yeah, man, my rating, it was hard for me to figure out what was a fair rating because I was also trying to factor in the influence, the impact, the splash it made, how many write-ups there are on this fucking thing.
In the end, it's all your enjoyment,
my taste.
Man. That's how I've gone about these ratings. It's like I try to just remember how it made me feel and like, how much I enjoyed it regardless of, other people.
Yeah,
it's my rating.
There's a lot of peer pressure to rate this album more fairly, but yeah, I've been thinking the same thing, man. At first I was like, well, I need to come at this because from a perspective of how much impact it had, and I'm just like, no, I'm coming at it from being a music fan. And also one of my first memories of moving back to America from Dominican Republic was in second grade. My class put on a Beach Boys show. So one of the first things that I started doing when I moved back to the United States was I started learning Surfin' Safari and Surfin' USA and all those fucking children's songs, to be honest. And I have such a fond memory of these songs, of Beach Boys in general. And I remember moving here and just being like, could this be more American? This music, just talking about surfing and California and girls and cars. I'm like, this is so American, and I loved it. And so I also was going into this album with that, that connection to this band in general. I was like, just so many great memories when I first moved to the US. But dude, I mean, this album, Pet Sounds, I'd have to give it,
hey, just do it because I guarantee you mine's going to be lower.
It's a 5 point something is my rating. It's a 5.6 is what I'm giving this record.
Okay.
And all of those points are for how much I genuinely really actually like the sounds on this album. Like, I do like the composition. I do love how it sounds. I do like the music. I just don't like these songs. It's really hard to explain because there are things I like a lot about it, but there's so many things I don't like about it. So it's a 5.6, Brett. It's a 5.6.
Well,
that was really painful for me to even give it a 5 point something, man. I feel like I'm just fucking shitting on the Bible.
I mean, I feel like no matter what rating I give it, it's going to be higher than maybe it should be in my heart of hearts. You know what I'm saying?
Go with your heart of hearts, man.
This might actually ruin my life. This might actually destroy me. But I got to live my truth. I'm going to give this thing like a 2.5.
Oh boy.
I respect it as a piece of art. I recognize the influence. I recognize the talent, the technique, the complexity, the beautiful melancholy, and how this changed everything. But like, it was just, I just can't get into it. Nothing connects. There's nothing that I can really attach to, and I'm probably never going to listen to this album again.
I definitely am not going to.
So I'm giving it a 2.5, which is...
Wow. It sucks, right? It sucks to do that.
Yeah,
man.
it sucks. It sucks to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like giving things low. I don't like shitting on albums and pieces of work, and like knowing how much this guy put into this album and how much care and how much everyone gave into this piece of art. Like, I don't like dissing on it and giving it such a low score, but I gotta be honest, like, it's just how much I like the album. It's a 2.5.
Yeah, man, 2.5. I mean, I know we didn't go into this excited to shit on it.
Yeah.
Like, that was something that we both, for whoever's listening, like, we didn't come into this just like fucking wringing our hands and just being like, ooh, I can't wait to fucking destroy this album. I do feel like I am desecrating something that it means so much to so many people, but art is subjective.
Yeah. And yeah.
We don't have to like it just because everyone likes it.
I don't think we're ever going to go into an episode excited to shit on anything, right? Like, we're not intentionally bringing up stuff to like stomp our foot on and like curb stomp and kick dirt at it,
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy doing that. I love shitting on things. I love talking about how bad things are.
I love doing that in private.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's not the goal of this podcast.
Yeah.
To defame something or fucking say that it, like, that's why I'm glad that we're both like at least mature enough to not have said this sucks, or that song was stupid, or it was fucking dumb, this song sucks, why does everyone think this is so good. We're just saying that we don't like it, man. It's just our opinion.
And we could say that as much as we want, but
sure.
we gotta move on with our lives.
That's something I had to realize from a young age, man, that I can't tell someone that something that they like sucks. It's like, that objectively sucks because I don't like it. Like, no, quit being an asshole.
So with all that, how do you Lucas, how do you think we did this episode? How would you rank our performance in this episode?
I would rank our energy a 2.5. But again, man, I think we handled this very well. I still had fun talking about it despite not liking this album.
I'm glad that like we happen to make a podcast with the only two people that we know who are going to think this way about this album.
Yeah. I don't know if we got lucky or I think it was a really great suggestion to do this album. So yeah, man, I would give the episode a 5.6 overall.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.8. And this is going to be good because we're going to see who's actually listening to these episodes.
Yeah. I want people to rate us.
Yeah.
On how we do, tell us what you thought of the episodes.
Leave it in the comments or the rating system on.
Smash that like button. What up, YouTube? Press the bell to get the notifications.
Well, okay. You know what this album really gets me in the mood for?
What, Brett? Some punk supergroup called the Drips? No, Lucas. I'm thinking we get a guest on the next episode. Maybe Michael from our band Mortales. Maybe he'll choose the album The Empyrean by John Frusciante. Dude, you're so fucking smart. I'm sorry I called you a Neanderthal in the last a while ago. You're so right. We should definitely do that. Hey man, no problem. Apology taken. High five. Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, this was a tough one. This was a tough one. Emotionally,
Might be.
I feel drained.
I feel like it's probably going to be our most controversial episode. I don't see any other albums that we could talk about that'll be more controversial.
Except unless we talk about a Beatles record, and I don't like the Beatles, so that could be
I do like
an
the
issue.
Beatles.
Yeah.
So-
Well, don't hesitate to suggest one.
Well,
but
honestly,
that's
any of the albums in the top 50 of that Rolling Stones list, like there was some stuff on there that was like, really?
I'm sure there's like a Prince record on there. Dude, critics are the fucking worst, including us. Yeah. So who cares what critics say?
Live y'all's lives. Go ahead and listen to Pet Sounds, y'all. Enjoy what makes you happy. Live in your truth. Don't let us sway you if you don't want to be swayed.
Please don't. We are just two fucks that think we know what we like. We probably don't even know that we love this record.
Wait, I'll probably listen to it 10 years down the line and be like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, you're going to turn 50 and all of a sudden like be aware of your fucking mortality, and then this album just becomes
I plan on getting into the Beach Boys and Jimmy Buffett when I turn 50. That's my plan.
Well, I think Jimmy Buffett is almost guaranteed. The second you get a boat,
right?
It's a prereq. It comes with like a box set of Jimmy Buffett.
It comes with a radio that you can't turn off, just blasting Jimmy Buffett.
Blasting Jimmy Buffett and Steely Dan's Aja.
Well, buddies, thank you for listening to the episode. Thank you for sticking with us. Whether you agree with us or not, we're glad you listened.
Yes, thank you for listening. And, we haven't mentioned this yet, but we have an Instagram. If you guys aren't aware of it, it's and it's super easy to remember. It's at the EBP cast. At the EBP cast, Earbuds Podcast.
Can you do that in like Army lingo, like Charlie
Echo,
Delta? Yeah.
Charlie, yeah, at the Echo Charlie Delta. Oh,
well,
fuck, no.
Charlie is a C.
Okay, at the Echo Bravo Parley cast.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what P is.
I think it's Parley. I think we're good on Parley. Yeah.
And then, go check us out on Instagram. That's where we post when we have a new episode. We sometimes we'll post a little preview of the next episode. You can check out my Instagram at Jean-Luc Guitard. That's super easy to spell also. Nothing weird about that one. You can see my daily albums of the day that I listen to. I do daily album reviews.
That's where I've gotten a lot of my new music is from your album reviews, man. I'll just go on your Instagram and just see what's up, and I'll download some stuff.
Yeah, man, they're not all good, but I definitely give you a hot take, and it's those are albums that I listened to once.
Damaged take is pretty rough, man.
It was a hot take. That was
Black
another
Flag
one.
album.
Jay, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry about my review of Damaged. As I'm sorry for the review of Pet Sounds.
We'll make it up to you by getting you on this podcast.
Yes, for sure. Well, find us on Instagram, leave us a comment, let us know what y'all think, and next week we'll talk about
John Frusciante's The Empyrean. See you, buddies.
Bye.